What was the dumbest rule your school enforced? Can't wear too many matching shirts because you could be a gang. This was in regards to a kid with cancer wanting to make a bunch of shirts. My high school was in buttfuck Nebraska. American schools seem to be obsessed with the idea of gangs. They really are. My public school in the 90s tried to make us wear private school-style uniforms. Avoiding gang colors was big argument for this. This was an affluent school in the suburbs. Schools will latch onto any perceived potential transgression to enforce authoritarian rules, which is how you end up with teen girls carrying ibuprofen for period cramps being treated like heroin traffickers. Involved in a fight. Same punishment regardless of fault, and this led to more dangerous fights due to everyone just going for it. Saw people use chairs, cricket bats and anything just to hand. Getting expelled from the school was really hard as it was the last chance school in the area, and after that it was the special reform school. Our school banned hugging because it was erotic. As you can imagine, the boys at school started giving each other very sensual high fives for the rest of the year. There's no group that takes homoeroticism more seriously than late middle, high school boys. Yes, there is. The military. What's gay to civilians? The military considers brotherhood. What's gay in the military? The Navy considers brotherhood. What's gay in the Navy is just illegal. Where else could you have 3 dudes sitting in one chair, stacked on top of each other, and nobody else bats an eye? Navy, I was on bottom. They banned the word snap, since everyone used it instead of shit, so we all just started saying shit. The snap ban lasted about 3 days. Oh snap, get 'em, they said snap. They decided everything bad happened in the last 5 minutes of lunch, so it got 5 minutes shorter each year. Any group more than 5 had to be up to no good. So no groups over 5. Oh us. This is just 2 groups of 3. School, ban them. It's clearly a gang war now. We weren't allowed to have cough drops in our elementary because the school considered them drugs. This was a rule at my high school. It was ridiculous. I almost got into trouble because I didn't know the rule and asked to go take something for a headache. Thankfully, I didn't actually say anything too specific about having anything myself. So I lied my ass off swearing that I didn't have any when the teacher confronted me about the rule. Of course, then I went to the washroom and took some anyway, and hid it. If I'd been searched, I'm sure it would have been found. I thought I was being so smart at the time. But definitely they knew exactly what I did. But fortunately they weren't too interested in busting me for Tylenol. I made sure to always ask to be excused for other reasons if I needed to take some in future. In grade 8, we were banned from standing in circles at recess because of potential scandalous activity going on in the middle. We stood in squares instead. For a while in my school, groups of kids would stand in circles shouting fight, 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 until a teacher came to break up the non-existent fight. God, we were assholes. I wish my students would do imaginative and actually kinda funny stuff like this, rather than the incomprehensibly childish and boring regular kid stuff that's as tedious to solve as it's embarrassing to all involved. My high school banned t-shirts that had the cover of Rush's album Signals, an album popular at the time, which features an image of a dog sniffing a fire hydrant. They considered it scatological because the dog was about to pee on it. This struck the entire student body as extremely stupid, and roughly 1/2 of the student body picked a day to wear the t-shirt. We won. They banned wristwatches. No one knows what the reason was. It's a gateway clock. Before you know it, people will start bringing pocket watches, then wall clocks, then grandfather clocks, and before you know it some kid walks in with Big Ben. Then what do you do? My brother is addicted to Big Bens. Rough man. Last year he spent all his money on gear wheels and batteries. By the time I had bought my first watch, I was 12, maybe 13. As far as I'm concerned, looking at it with my present knowledge of what this would eventually put me through, I can say that this is the exact point when my life, as I knew it, ended. Perhaps it's even when my life should have ended. See, The problem with an addiction like this is that it sneaks up on you. Nobody goes into buying their first watch with the plan to become addicted. You think, I'll just get this one, and then I'm done for good. However, that first watch soon turns to your second, then your third. At this point, although you may not realize it, you no longer intend on stopping. You'll instead start attempting to justify it, saying to yourself something along the lines of, I see this person wearing a watch all the time, and they seem to function perfectly fine. Such was the way the addiction struck me. Before I knew it, I had scraped into every amount of savings I had left just to buy yet more watches. I found my urges compounding on themselves by the day. Obviously, this plan was unsustainable. The well was drying up and I had no way to fill it. Eventually, it reached its breaking point. I had exhausted every last cent I could find. Of course, running out of resources to sustain my addiction only caused me to double down on it. All my time became solely focused on getting more money to feed my ever-growing watch collection. However, I was still under the age of employment in my area, so I had to turn to other sources of income. It started innocently enough, petty shoplifting, pinching change from under bus seats and out of fountains, but as my urges grew, so too did my desperation. My crimes became bolder, more dangerous. I did horrible things, depraved things. Some of them I will take to my grave, as I struggle to admit them even to myself. I have lived this way for years longer, I'd imagine, than some of you have even been alive. And here I stand today, a lifeless, soulless husk of the person I once was, listlessly shambling through life, stopping only to entertain my endless, insatiable obsession, until I will eventually be unceremoniously picked off by a stray flick of death's scythe. The least I can do is implore you all to not follow in my footsteps. Do not ever consider buying your own watch. Do not ever accept a watch as a gift from somebody else. Do not ever let yourself forget how something as simple as a watch addiction can cause catastrophic damage to your life. These are dangerous thoughts. Seek counseling to kick them as soon as you can. Those who describe watches as a gateway clock are not only telling the truth, but understating it. Prom was a mandatory lockdown for the night in order to avoid students going to parties after prom. Prom was held at various house parties across town instead. I hate it when schools shove their noses into everyone else's business. We had overnight dry grad. It wasn't a dance but more like a game night. There were bounce houses, obstacle courses and other games and stuff plus food. Obviously. By about 4-5 am I was pretty tired and actually asked if I could go home. No go. They wouldn't let anyone out unless their parent came and got them, or it was an emergency. It was stupid as hell since we were 17-18 and had driven ourselves to the school, and all it did was make us drive home overtired at 7 AM. I'm surprised everyone made it home alright since we were basically sleeping against walls and each other by that point. Edit. Canada. As far as I know there is no curfew for minors here. But yes, the reasoning the teachers gave me for not letting us go was a liability issue and they had to wait till sunrise to let us leave. Edit 2. There is a curfew for minors between 12-6 am, but I don't think they really enforce it unless they catch you doing something stupid. We couldn't wear winter clothing, jackets, hats, gloves, in class because they were gang symbols. This was a small farm town in Wisconsin. Besides obviously having no gangs, it was fucking cold, even indoors, in the winter. But clearly wearing warm clothing is something only gangs do. Mitten Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Also small town Wisconsin. We weren't able to wear jackets or anything like that in class either for literally the same reason. One kid came into class wearing snow boots and the teacher told him to put them back in his locker. So he came back with his farm boots that smelled like straight manure. You knew where he was for the rest of the day. Why was this such a Wisconsin thing? I still remember in middle school, when we laughed about how there were no gangs in school. The teachers said in high school there will be a lot of gangs. I believed them and was legit scared. You couldn't wear any kind of head items that were gang colors, red or blue. This included hair bands, scrunchies, beads in your hair, ribbons, anything. I got in trouble for wearing a blue hairband with white polka dots. Don't joke about the polka dot cartel. Shoes are to be worn as the manufacturer intended. I have no clue who was wearing their shoes incorrectly, or how, but this line, verbatim, was repeated to us over the morning announcements when there were perceived infractions at various points throughout the year. Maybe people were drawing on their shoes?